Okay, today we're going to continue where we left off last class period. We had imported the managers table and the source files as a folder. So I reopened up the project or our tutorial, and now I want to go back into Power Query Editor and continue cleaning up the data that we imported from the source files folder. So I'm going to click on Transform Data. And the managers tables look good. Make sure the ABC, you see the ABC here and an ABC here. If you don't, you have to change that. And if you don't see ABC in either one of these corners, then click on them and make sure text is picked. Okay. Zip codes are not numbers. Zip codes are names of places. So these numbers mean nothing. You can't add them up and divide by the number to get an average. It just doesn't work. So there's no numerical meaning to these values. Now let's go to the sales zip data. And where we left off, I think we left off with the data being imported from the source files and the modifications to the Power BI code that they made recently means they're not bringing this row in as column names. They're bringing it in as data. So we're going to have to fix that. So I'm going to sort this descending. So you can see that each one of these tables, when Power BI Desktop imports each one of these tables, the Arizona table, the California table, the New Mexico table, the Washington table, the Oregon table, the Nevada table, it's importing it, but it's not identifying this row as column names. So what we have to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to rename these column names. I'm going to rename this column date. I'll rename this column zip code. And column 3 product. Column 4 payment type. Column 5 units. And column 6 amount of sale. Seven revenue discount. Yeah, the previous version of, an earlier version of Power BI Desktop, this step was unnecessary. And then the final column, cost of goods sold, COGS. Okay, now another thing we need to do is we need to change the data type. When you see ABC123 appear, Power BI Desktop is unsure what the data type should be because it imported the names of the columns and the numerical values in those columns together. So because it imported these names of columns with the data, it's unsure what to name that. So what we need to do is we need to go back to, we'll go back to date, and we're going to filter, we're going to filter the data. We're going to filter the data. So we're going to keep rows where date, the column date. We're going to keep it where that column does not equal the word date. And we hit OK. It should remove everything, every row that has the word date in it. Okay, so we got that cleaned up. Now let's go ahead and sort this again. We'll sort it ascending and see if there's any empty cells. in our data set. We do have an empty row in the Washington table. So we want to get rid of that null value. So let's go back to our filter and remove empty. Okay, so the empties are gone. Let's go ahead and sort according to state. Sometimes when you sort this stuff, you'll find little problems in the data set. So we definitely don't want null values in our tables and dashboards. Okay, everything looks good now. Now we have to change the data types. So the cost of goods sold is dollars fixed decimal. There's a lot of data in here. The revenue discount is a percentage. Looks like we get through the Washington data at the bottom there. The amount of sale is dollars fixed decimal. Down here you can see that which table it's working on. And then units, they're whole numbers. Units are whole numbers. So down here it shows you that it's going to the California data, in the Excel spreadsheet, the Nevada, New Mexico, Oregon, and then Washington Excel file. Okay. And then what we're going to do with payment type, I'm going to hold down the control button. I'm going to click on payment type to select the payment column. I'm going to hold down the control button. I'm going to click product, zip code, slide it over, hold down the control button and click name. And all of these are going to be changed to data type text or strings of characters. Uh-oh. Let me do that again. Click name, zip code, product type, payment type while holding down the control button, and then right click on the yellow area and then change the data type. Change the data type to text. So that's how you have to do multiple columns. Changing multiple columns to data types. And this might go a little faster. And we're in Washington table. Okay. Now we want to change the date data type. I want to change that to date. And you'll see a little calendar there. Okay, so let's just double check we got all the, okay, name of, oh, I need to rename the, this name. I need to call that state. So I got state, ABC, date with a calendar, zip code, ABC, product, ABC, payment type, ABC, units, I got 1, 2, 3, amount of sale, I got $sign there, revenue discount, I got a percentage, and then cost of goods sold. Now, before we leave, we got one more. We have a couple more things to do. This is the amount of the sale. So this person here in Arizona bought a quad in that store on that date with a debit Visa card. They bought one quad, whatever a quad is. I'm not sure what it is. And it cost them $43.96. They didn't get anything off the sale. So they paid $43.96. Now the person that bought this product, this person in Arizona in store 85001 bought a Bellin with an American Express card, bought 6 of them, and the total sale was $149.70, but got 10% off. So they didn't pay $149.70. They got 10% off that price. So 10% off 149.7 is $14.97. So we need to account for that in our table. So in order to do that, we're going to go to Add Column, Custom Column. We're going to rename this new column. We're going to call it Net Revenue. Okay. And then we need to click on Amount of Sale over here. And if we multiply it by the revenue discount, we hit OK. Then we go over here and look at it. Right? This calculates how much we got off, how much was knocked off on the sale, right? So now what we wanted to do is we want to subtract this value from that amount for the net revenue, right? So we'll go back to we'll go back and edit this added custom 1 column. So if you go down here and double click on added custom 1, we can modify this. There's one way we can do it. We can subtract this dollar discount. We can subtract it from amount of sale. So we could put a minus sign in front of this product. This is the dollar discount. And we can click on amount of sale. So we can do amount of sale minus amount of sale times revenue discount. We'll hit OK. And now we're getting we're marking down this 10% or $26.38, right? So now this net revenue is the amount of sale minus the 10% off. Now, the only problem with what we've done is that we have 3 decimals and we don't pay in 4/10 of a penny. So we need to round off this 4. So let's just go back and round those numbers now. So I'm going to double click on Added Custom 1. And then I'm going to put a parenthesis around the whole thing. I'm going to put parentheses around the whole thing, right? There is no syntax errors here. And then in front of the parentheses, I'm going to type number. And I have the N capitalized, and I'm going to type round. Okay, number.round. And it's got to look just like this right here. Number.round. Okay. And then inside of just inside the closed parenthesis, I'm going to type a comma 2. And then hit OK. And then we'll see what happens over here. This should round to $237.38. And that's exactly what happens, right? So we're good to go. So now I can change this net revenue from ABC123. I can change it to dollar fixed decimal. Now I don't need the revenue discount anymore, and I don't need the amount of sale. So I'm going to right click on both of those. Well, I'm going to click on revenue discount and then click on amount of sale, and then I'll right click in the yellow area and I'm going to remove those columns. It doesn't delete the columns, it just doesn't show you the columns, right? All right, so now we can exit the Power Query Editor. We can exit Power Query Editor. We're going to click on File, close, and apply. Okay, so after it's applied the changes, we come back to the empty dashboard that we're going to populate next week. Okay, so the next thing I want you to do is go to over here on the left, go to this left vertical bar and put your cursor over this thing with tables in it that are connected. Click on the model icon, and you're going to see our managers table here and our sales zip data table here. And what we want to do, and this looks a lot like Access. So what we want to do is we want to connect the managers table to the sales zip table. And when we connect the sales zip data table to the managers table, what it's basically going to do is going to make the sales zip data table it's going to make it one column wider. So it's going to create a new table that has all of these columns in it, but it's going to add a column with managers. Okay, so we're going to click and hold down our left mouse button and then drag it and drop it on top of zip code. Then the connection will be made, and then in PowerBI Desktop, if you click on the line, you can see that zip code and zip code are connected. You can also go up here to Manage Relationships. You can click that, and you can see that sales zip data and the managers table are connected via zip code and zip codes, right? And you can close that. All right. The next thing we want to do is we want to build some new columns in our model. So I'm going to click on the table button, and it might look like this for you when you click on the table button. So all I got to do to change it is to click on sales zip data over here. And we can see our columns here, right? We got California, we got date, we got zip code, we got the product type, payment type, units, cost of goods sold, and net revenue. So what we want to do is we want to create a new column. So we're going to click on, in Table Tools, we're going to click on New Column. And we're going to rename this column Type of Sale. And we're going to define this new column with an if statement. If. And then we're going to type an open parenthesis. So we have if open parenthesis. And then we're going to start typing the word units. Or let's just do sales zip. Sales. Okay, so I typed sales. I got my table sales zip data. I got the cost of goods column in the sales zip data. I got the date column, the net revenue column, all the way down here to units column. So I'm going to double click on the sales zip data units. Now, you might have named it sales data. So all you have to do is type sales, and this might say sales data brackets units, right? So we're looking for the column units in our sales data table or units in our sales data table, right? So just click on units there. And now, whoops. And now you want to type a less than right after the bracket, less than 6. Okay, then we type a comma, and this comma means if the condition is sales zip data units, if units are less than 6, then we're going to report retail. Then we're going to type a comma, and that comma means otherwise we're going to report wholesale. Close quotes, and then close parenthesis. Okay. Now I'm going to hit enter, and notice that my type of sale has been populated. We have retail here because the units are 1, right? If I sort on units descending, then type of sale is wholesale. See that? Okay, so any customer that buys more than 6 units is considered a wholesale company. And there are advantages to this. If you're a contractor and you go to Home Depot and you buy a bunch of 2x4s and door locks, and you show them a contractor card, you can buy that product with a volume discount, and you don't have to pay sales tax. Okay? And that's important. Some states have sales tax and some states don't have sales tax. Okay, now we're going to create what are called measures. They're not going to show up in the table as a new column. We're going to create these measures. So what the measures will do is when you click you check mark some category in a slicer that we're going to create in the dashboard. What it'll do, it'll sum over those by those categories. So it's going to be really cool. So what we need to do is we need to go to Table Tools and then click New Measure. And our first new measure is going to be total revenue. Total revenue. And total revenue is going to be the sum of net revenue. So if you type total revenue equals sum, parenthesis, and then type net, you'll get a list of columns that are in your sales data table or in your sales zip data table, right? However you renamed it. And I want to click on net revenue. Okay, and then I'll close parentheses. And right now it's named measure. When I hit enter here, it's going to change the name to total revenue and then move it down here alphabetically. So I got this new column, well, not a new column, but a new measure called total revenue. It's not a new column because it will allow Power BI Desktop to sum this column according to categories. Like if the slicer is payment type, then if you click payment MasterCard, it'll sum this column where the payment type was MasterCard. So it's kind of cool. All right, we're going to do another new measure. This one is going to be total cost of goods sold. Total COGS equal to, again, sum, right? And then if you type COGS, there's only one thing in the list, right? The cost of goods column in this table, however you named it. And then we close parentheses. And over here, when we hit enter, the measure will move down here because the name of it is total cost of goods sold. So let's hit enter, and it moves down here. So we got two measures, right? Now let's make sure that the units or the data type is correct. So you can click on $ here, and it's currency, so that's good. And then we'll click on total revenue. You click on $. It doesn't change the format because it was currency before, right? Okay, so let's make a new measure. This new measure is called gross profit. And gross profit, if you remember from Business 200, is just the difference between revenue and cost of goods sold, right? So we're going to type revenue, and total revenue shows up down here, right, as a measure. See that? This is a measure. It's got a calculator, right? So we're going to click on total revenue, and then we're going to type COGS. And total cost of goods sold pops up, right? And there's a calculator next to it. So that's the thing that we want to subtract from total revenue. Okay? And the units of measure are currency, right? And as soon as I hit enter, it renames it gross profit over here, right? Okay, so now we want one more new measure, and that new measure is going to be gross profit percentage. And gross profit can be expressed as a percentage of cost of goods sold or as a percentage of revenue. We're going to do it as revenue, right? So we're going to type gross profit, and then we're going to divide it by total revenue. Okay, I don't think we need the sales in there. There we go. All right, so we got gross profit divided by total revenue, right? And this should be a percentage. Okay. And we'll limit the number of decimal places to 2. So the dashboard's nice and clean. Okay. So gross profit percentage is a percentage with 2 decimal places. So make sure percentage is clicked. Oh, make sure percentage is clicked, and then this is at 2, right? Otherwise, the tables in the dashboard will have excessive numbers of decimal places. Okay. And next class, we're going to build the dashboard here. Okay, so that's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to see charts and maps and tables and slicers, and it's going to be interactive. It's going to be pretty cool. So I'm going to save, and we'll see you next class period.